This conference will now be recorded.
We were on mute just for a second because we were still getting organized. Mike and Jackie, can you hear us?
Okay.
You tell me when you're ready.
Yep,
Em.
I can hear you.
Okay, we're ready.
All right, good evening, everyone. Before we start, I'd like to rise and pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. I'd like to welcome to this public hearing. I'll turn it over to our town clerk, who will open the session.
The notice in the paper is please take notice that the town of North Alba will hold a public hearing Tuesday, June 7th, 2022 at 5 p.m. in the meeting room at the North Alba Town Hall, 2693 Main Street, Lake Placid, New York, concerning the following short-term rental moratorium variance application. Tim and Jill Gerrity for property located at 22 Juniper Circle, tax map number 42.74-5-6. The public is invited to attend in person or online. The link is there, and all persons are invited to attend and will be given an opportunity to be heard. Order of the Town Board, Lori Curtis Dudley.
Let's start with anyone present that would like to speak. Yes, sir.
It's Gerrity, Tim Gerrity.
Gary?
No problem at all.
No,
no problem at all.
Good to meet you.
You too.
Oh, hi.
You can either present from where you are or come up and join us here at the table.
Sure, I'll come to the table. How is everyone?
Very good.
Thank you very much for having us and hearing us out here. So my wife and I, we moved here in November, and our plans were to work here with childcare, and it's hard to come by. So our plans with the short-term rental is we're not trying to start a business. We're not trying to make $1 million. We both travel for work, and when we need to leave, we leave as a family. And in that time, we are hoping to rent our place to make up the money that we're spending to be gone together. We both work in the events industry, and it's our babies are 1 and 2, and it's kind of, we just need to stay together, and being here is just, it's literally impossible. So that's where we're at, and we're hoping to get people in. Our house is set up for families. I know that people don't like parties, people don't like huge crowds. Our house is designed and would be listed as 2 cribs, kids' toys, set up for a family to come and enjoy this beautiful place just like we do. That's all. I really had everything else, in there.
And
we had the proper documents.
That's right. We have all your documents.
Cool.
I guess I can say to the board, are there further questions from any of you?
I guess my only question was going to be, what are the general lengths of time that you're gone when you're traveling for work?
Great question. It's usually between a week and 3 weeks. It kind of varies. We try and go as quick as possible and get back, but I would say average is 10 days to 14 days.
And how often are you gone for those periods of time? Like once a month? You're gone?
It's kind of, we're independent contractors, so we seek this work out. So I would say in the summertime, we're a little bit busier, and we'd probably be gone for average 1 week a month. And then in the wintertime, we're home pretty much, and it would be 1 weekend every 2 months or something like that. I don't have the exact numbers, but it varies. It would definitely be under the limit. It's I think it's 90 days or whatever it is, it's 120, okay, yeah. It would definitely be under that.
Jason, Rick, anything?
I went over your documentation. The only question, you said you purchased in November.
Yes.
Are you aware of
Yes,
the imminent sort of?
we did know that this was coming, and it's in our letter here. We weren't able to get our chimney approved, so we weren't able to file. We didn't have the right paperwork, and we needed to get a new wood stove. And by the time that got here with the supply chain, it was past due.
Okay.
So we had made it known that we wanted to do this, and then, you know how everything is going these days, it just took some extra time to get that done. So when we did have all of our paperwork together, it happened to be after the date of,
Okay.
yeah, that's why we had to apply.
You notified Mike to tell you and then he didn't grant, or I guess.
He said he didn't grant it because there was a crack in our old wood stove, so he had to purchase us a new one. And then we went back and forth for weeks of it getting delivered and shipped, and he just wasn't able to sign off on it until it actually was installed in there.
Sorry, your inspector wasn't signing off on that, or our village or town code enforcement officer wasn't able to sign off on it?
The inspector.
Meaning like what inspector you hired?
We hired, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That's just clarifying that.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm sorry. The guy's name who we bought it from was Mike. And I thought maybe that.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, Mike Roselli. I should have said code enforcement officer, Mike.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
That was my fault.
No problem.
Tim, I'm guessing that's your wife online. I don't know if she'd like to add anything to this.
She's probably feeding 2 babies, but trying to listen in.
I just wanted to make sure we recognize.
Sure, yeah.
that. Is there anyone else in the public that would like to add to any of this? Don?
I understand the gentleman's plight, family's plight, but I kind of think that they weren't ignorant of the law. They were not following the law. The moratorium was public notice. And if that had been presented earlier, okay, but now the moratorium's passed, and he should have been ahead of it.
No. It's a
can't-
public hearing where
Sure,
it's
okay, yeah,
just information coming in.
Okay, he's speaking to us, not to
Sure.
you, so like, I don't.
Yes,
you know,
exactly.
I've heard any sort of like, back and forth.
No problem.
Yeah, no,
Thank you, Don. You're waiting for later. Okay. Lauren? Okay. Anyone else on there that would?
No, Jackie and Mike, I'm assuming you don't want to speak, but Jill, you're welcome to speak.
I guess I will ask a question, and that is, I'm not connecting the inspection of the wood stove with a certificate of occupancy or short-term rental application.
It was the last piece of the permit. There was, certain criteria, and it was the last piece of the permit to get in. And in the timeline of getting that done, we had missed the deadline to get it in, but we had asked, and we just weren't able to submit it unless it was completely in full, done, ready to go.
So you did have a conversation with the building office.
I believe so, yes, I believe my wife did.
Jill?
Jill, are you there? I apologize, but I do know that we reached out several times trying to get that done, and it was, you could submit it when it's done, but you can't submit it.
The paperwork originally was building office paperwork, but that Jill submitted to
Well,
me.
it's online paperwork through a company that would pay.
Oh, sorry.
I don't have any more questions. Anyone else?
I'm very good with the information presented. No one else here in the public, no one else there.
Oh, yes, yes. Yay. Hi.
You're here for the public hearing?
No.
Then you are in the wrong room.
I'm here for the town meeting.
That's okay,
Yeah.
that'll start at 5:30. You're okay, you can stay.
You're in the right spot.
Okay.
You sure? Didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, it's fine.
So I guess if there's no further comment, we have the option of closing the public hearing. Would you like to?
I actually feel like we should keep the public hearing open, because I never like to close a public hearing the same day you open it, because for one thing, like, if the public, let's give them the benefit of the doubt, they didn't know about this, and they're gonna read about it in the paper 2 days from now. We give them 7 days to comment in writing. How do you feel about that?
I think that's fair.
7 days to comment in writing. Lori, are you okay with accepting emails, or do you wanna make it someone else?
No, I can, it's fine.
So, email,
But don't we have, like, formally have to close the public hearing, and we can leave the commenting period open for an additional week? Because we have to come out of a public hearing in order to go into a meeting, correct?
Well, this
You can
active
close-
public hearing,
You can close this session and keep the public hearing open for comments.
Okay, is that what you're
Yeah.
and I guess the only other thing I would like to, and the other reason I want to keep it open, and I'll ask the rest of the board members how they feel about this, but maybe some documentation from the applicant on their communication with the building office and what their communication was with the building office.
That would be ideal if you do have some.
Okay.
But the moment we ask them for that, we're gonna have to extend the public hearing, I guess is what I'm a little bit concerned about. So do we actually care about that? Because then it might drag out the public.
Mike's
hearing.
on the.
personally, no, but we can either follow up with Mike on that aspect or Darcy.
But I guess if we're, in speaking to the point, like, if we're looking at only financial hardship as the criteria whether to approve or disapprove.
That's true, then why does that communication matter?
Yes.
Okay. So disregard what I asked you for.
Okay.
And basically, that's why I'm okay with what's presented.
Okay, fair. But we'll do 7 days for the public to do written comment to clerk@northelva.org.
No, it's L Dudley at Northampton.
L Dudley at North. Don't I email you at clerk?
No.
Okay.
All right, everyone, thank you. Then at this, I'll officially close this public hearing. Motion to close?
No, we're
No,
not.
we're gonna
We're
leave it
leaving it
open
We're
for 1
closing.
week.
We're closing this session, but leaving public comment open for 7 days.
So we can move on to town board meeting.
Yes.
And we still have 15 minutes, or because we have 2 presenters coming at 5:30, so we'll have to wait. Okay.
You're welcome to leave.
Do you guys, what's next steps for me? Do I hear back from you guys, or should we follow up with Lori?
You will hear,
Yeah.
the results will come from you.
And is it just for my, is it a vote, or is it a?
Yes.
Yeah, they'll
From this-
discuss it and then they'll make a decision.
Okay. And who's that party that does that?
This board.
There's one.
But not me.
I'm sorry. Emily Plea, town board member.
I'm Rick Preston, town board.
Jason Leon, town board member.
Excellent.
And there's
And Derek.
Dick Cummings, who is a town board member who's not present.
Okay,
He'll
excellent.
be part of that. Great. This is the one and only town supervisor here.
Good to meet you.
All right, excellent. Well, I appreciate you guys hearing us out. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now let's hurry up and wait.
I wrote 10 in the,
What's that?
I wrote 10 in here, so
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No problem.
I apologize.
I'm confused. Is that the end of the discussion on short-term rentals?
Yes,
It is.
because this was only just a public hearing for that one
particular
issue.
Okay.
Yes, but
Totally
And it's
confused.
still open for comment.
the schedule of things, Don, is that the development committee will be giving recommendations from their data study and the surveys on short-term rentals by the end of June, Emily?
End of June is the goal, yes.
Yeah, and then July and August is where the direction of the decisions will be with the town board and the village board.
Yes,
That's the meat of the
that's,
discussions.
that union is what I was going to discuss. All right, very good, I'm sorry, thank you. Thank you. Bye. Appreciate the time.
No, thank you, Don.
The only
And we can kind of mention at the end if you want to review it.
After the.
Is it legal?
Yeah, I guess my question was, is it okay?
I don't know if it, I don't know.
Gillian, I'll tell you what I'll do. I don't want you to go though until we see Kathy's on. Kathy's on the way home. I think it's imperative that she hear
Okay,
what you want,
yeah.
but you're okay.
Okay,
Everything's cool.
okay.
Uh,
I'm just nervous.
Hold on.
Anyway, Ashley, I think we'll start with you. Yeah, and you're welcome to come up and sit with us here if you'd like.
Oh, Dick's not here. We have many more opportunities for other people to come.
Well, you see, that's it.
Did he catch that?
And listen, sorry it's been a couple months, but you've been
No,
so
no
damn busy.
service.
And really, whatever you want to update on is fine.
I'm gonna provide, I've got a couple of bullet points I'll go over, and then if there's any questions or other things, just jump on in. So just in the past couple of months, I think, since we've been here and updated, there's obviously been quite a bit going on. We're ramping up our staff very rapidly. At the moment, we have just under 50 employees, 20 contractors, and we have 30 positions that are be posted or will be open between now and September. So quite a bit. We still struggle just like everybody else on hiring. But the end of the school year for college students has been a great opportunity. So we've been able to pull in a lot of, in the past couple of weeks, just to college students that have finished up their degree, or we have a few that are just working during the summer. So that's helped open up the pool. While we're talking about staffing, I'm going to do more of an accommodations update in a minute, but Mackenzie Overlook, which I'm sure everybody's familiar with, I exchanged a few emails with Larry Reagan this morning, but they'll likely be, we'll have the opportunity to occupy the property beginning on September 1st, which is huge. So this may help our staffing and workforce problem. So we're looking right now at the best use for that property, knowing as of today that it'll be open or available.
And it's exciting.
It's really exciting because it's been the biggest challenge on the workforce side, especially now with short-term positions. People just can't find a place to live.
Do you think you'll be able to fill the 60 units for those 4 months? 4 months? 5 months?
No, probably not. It'll probably be a partial occupancy in September, but by December 1st, it'll be completely occupied.
That's great.
And now that we know, we might change the strategy a bit, so it might be completely occupied early. But that's really gonna be a lifesaver for us, so. The competition schedule for the 11 days is complete, and complete to the point that we could potentially publish it. There'll be some small tweaks on timing and things, but that's been a work in progress for a long time, and it helps guide so many different things, and it's been a key piece for us. But that was complete and approved by FISU the other day. From town side, we've been working with Butch on the spaces for Craigwood and for the horse show grounds. So we have some very basic MOUs that we're looking to have completed. We need them for our insurance companies, but thank you for the help on that. Delegation housing and all accommodations, we continue to work on that. We have about 51 properties under contract. This spans the 3 regions, not just here centrally. And some of the larger properties that we've been negotiating with for the athletes and the coaches should be finalized. One large one finalized this week. We've had a couple of snags with Paul Smith, so we're trying to get some more meetings and information back so we can continue to move forward there. Some of the things that again, more pertaining to the town would be, we've been working on the plan for the cauldron, which I am not sure, some of you may know that Chris Carroll, who led up our marketing team, is no longer with us, so there's been a lot of conversations that he led based upon the cauldron. So I'd just like to, and maybe I need to put something forward officially, but the idea that we've been talking about is having it's movable, but having it at one main street for the games, or as soon as it's fabricated and ready.
So this is a new cauldron, not a rehab.
This is a new sustainable, not running on flame cauldron that would be movable, hopefully have an after use as well. So not out there. Yeah, I think.
LED.
Or the Empire State Games Coleman, or the
No.
one Order brings around.
Okay.
Not that, yeah, this would be newly fabricated, and we should have some design concepts back next week. I think they were initially looking at they were looking at the 1981 to see how they could play off of it, but I haven't seen the concepts most to date. But I'm wondering about getting something in place also similar to the horse show grounds in Craigwood, just saying, yeah, this is acceptable and there's, power. There's a lot of small things that need to happen, but I want to make sure everybody's aware of it so we can continue to plan for that, because it is going to be constructed to fit within that place. So if that's not an option, we need to know.
Do you mean utilize the Olympic torch in any manner? No.
No.
But then what do you mean by fit within place?
So on 1 Main Street or Brewster Park? I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
I call it one Main Street, everyone, it's
Within
like they're
that-
trying to make it Brewster Park.
So I know that there've been a lot of conversations with Brad on what was doable. I wasn't involved in many of them, so it's a piece that I want to make sure everybody is aware of and that we can move forward with. If not, then we're gonna look at something
Yeah,
else.
I think what the village board was talking about, that they managed that, and it seemed
Yeah.
like it was moving forward.
Okay, so there would be some, I would support necessary just from, Brad and others, so do you want a proposal, or is there something that needs to
Ask
finally happen?
Jason.
But I think that's more of a village board.
Okay, all village,
board.
yeah.
okay,
all
that's
village
fine.
on that, yeah.
Um,
Jackie has been updating us here and there.
On
Jackie
some of
Keller.
the pieces,
Yeah,
great,
yeah.
okay.
And I'm guessing you're just referring to like the logistics of things, like if this new cauldron is built on a trailer, there will be adequate space to pull it in and drop it.
Yeah, or if it needs some anchoring, that there's the ability to anchor it, it's gonna
Okay.
need power.
So it's logistics, then it's a
Yeah.
Brad.
And that's really it, those are the biggest highlights, obviously, a lot in the works at the moment, but happy to answer any questions on specifics.
I have some real basic ones, like the public will want to know things like how traffic is going to flow during the games. Like are the supply trucks coming from midnight to 5 o'clock in the morning? How is trash going to be picked up, whether it's the village or a private entity? What are some of the other major things?
So I can answer a few of those now. So we're finalizing with, the village and New York State Police and DOT, everybody that's involved in the traffic management plan. Right now, there's a set delivery window, I believe from 2 to 6.
2 a.m. to 6 a.m.
2 a.m. to 6 a.m. And so we're working with LPBA and hopefully, I haven't talked to MJ too much about it, but we had been working with Brooke a bit on getting information out even to non-LPBA members so that they can work with their vendors on how all of this is gonna work.
Could I
Yeah.
touch on the plan real quick?
Please.
So with the World University Games, the committee that I'm on, is kind of a Main Street geared, that's our focus. And we are gonna be delivering packets of information that have the answers to all of those questions. We have a meeting tomorrow morning, and I believe that we're gonna have the packets at that point. So as a group, we're going to each tackle so many businesses and make sure that they all have all of the information. And it's not just specific to closures or anything like that, it's a whole bunch of information that will be relevant to them.
Very good. Thank you. How about projected numbers? I know they've changed a lot over the last few months, mainly because of the war. Russia, Belarus,
Attendance from
Ukraine.
delegations.
Yeah,
So we have, right now on the projections, we are assuming there will be later on this month, we'll have more information about participation from all nations, but currently, Russia and Belarus are banned until January 1st in all FISU events. So we'll find out more information later on whether that will continue or not. If we do lose Russia and Belarus, that drops our numbers by about 380. Our biggest concern and issue right now is that to enter the United States, you have to be fully vaccinated. But the US and the CDC does not recognize the Sputnik vaccine. And it is not just Russian athletes and delegations that have the Sputnik vaccine. There's several countries, and large countries. So we're working on trying to figure out ways, and we're sending out lots of communication to all the delegations, letting them know that they need to, hopefully, if there are other vaccines available, get access to those, and the other parties on visas. So two kind of big issues that wouldn't impact the overall numbers, but we have really good support from elected officials, stateside and, here locally, that are helping us to.
So then a lot of it could be very last minute.
And with the way things are changing with, visas and access to the country, we expect that it will be less.
Okay. I'm sorry for you.
Who knew? First go to war. Yeah.
But you can't deny there's a great excitement for these coming.
Yeah, and I think as we get closer and it really becomes reality and people are seeing, things, finished, whether it be Main Street or venues, I think it's, that excitement's making that energy, so. And we'll really start, we've been working with a marketing agency and they'll really start rolling out stuff next month. And they've got, regional and more New England-based plans in place, so you're gonna start hearing a lot more of it. So by the time the games come around, people will be pretty sick of it.
No,
It'll be
no
fun.
such a thing.
How about volunteer pool? How's that going?
That's a struggle. We're behind on numbers. We have projections. We've done a lot of work on trying to consolidate the numbers and get the projected numbers lower. Right now, I think we're at about 1,900. And again, that's 1,900 needed volunteers. That spans the 3 areas, the 3 regions. We only have registration right now about around 700. We have some plans in place to do more outreach and more regional outreach. There's just not a large pool here, so, but that continues to be a concern.
Thank you.
Jason or Emily? Questions from the public? No? Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.
Thank you
How do
very
you
much.
And nothing for July, right? No meeting in July?
No, there is.
There is, okay.
It's the 5th. So you're always invited. I can bug you every month, or you can
Honestly,
contact me.
keep us on the agenda. We'd like
Okay.
to,
It's great
doesn't take
because
up our time and we'd
it's
like to
one
be
avenue
involved.
with Lauren here that everybody knows how things are progressing.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you coming, because I know what your days are like.
It's all right.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
So Jim, Kat, MJ, you all want to
Kathy
come
and
up?
I, or Catherine and I are gonna start.
Okay. And there's an extra, there's a chair here too. Yeah, no, that's fine. So are you two also double timing to get over to Saranac Lake?
No, that's just me, but I'm not
Okay.
double timing, I'm just when I'm done.
All right.
Yours doesn't start till 6.
Okay,
So
so I'm
I
just
only have
saying,
capacity is 8, so.
I think you have the poll. Yeah.
So I just first want to start out by, y'all know Catherine Erickson, and she was our Lake Placid Regional Marketing Manager up until the pandemic in March of 2020, and then Catherine left Roost and has now come back. Her title is a little bit different. She is our Lake Placid Community Coordinator. So I'm going to let Catherine just give a little overview of her job responsibilities and things she's working on. And then I thought today I would just talk, give you an update on Ironman and where we are with that. And I can answer any questions on anything else you might be interested in.
Perfect.
Great, hi, Catherine Erickson. I think everything, my job as the Lake Placid Community Coordinator is basically communicating what Roost is doing inside of that organization to the Lake Placid community, and also in the vice versa of communicating what the community is doing to Roost. In the process, filling needs of the organizations that they may have for marketing purposes, design purposes, any of those kind of things. An example of that was, I've been on the Community Day Committee for, I feel like I'm saying committee a lot, but there's a reason for that. But I've been on that committee for 4 years, and this was our 4th event.
It was amazing,
You
by the
were
way.
there, wasn't it fantastic?
Yes.
I thought it was
amazing.
great, and Val Rogers put that committee together 5 years ago, and it's just been growing and growing, and it's done really well. And my job in that as a Roost representative is for, they needed the photo frames done, they needed sponsor boards to thank everybody that is, involved in that, to pull that off. So I go and I work with the design team on any of those initiatives. And then I go to Community Day. And one of the things that I'm the most proud of working with Roost is that there are so many things that they do and initiatives such as Leave No Trace, Adirondacks, and it's nice to be able to show the community what they're doing. Lake Placid, Roost being the marketing organization, the residents of Lake Placid aren't always the target audience with marketing. So it's important to have somebody that can go in and say, these are the things that we're doing. We're not just promoting our region, we're promoting awareness in our region, such as Leave No Trace, how to go on a hike properly, how to dispose of, your garbage, things like that. So it's all full circle, and that's kind of what my job is. And I'm going to be sending out emails that I did before the pandemic, again, so you'll be in touch with everything that's going on. And as always, I can answer any questions, but that's basically what I'll be doing.
The parade.
Parade. Well, this is a list of my organizations as of right now, and I think that that's important for you to know as well. So Community Day, the World University Games, the Appearance Committee, our Alliance, the Development Commission, and the Lake Placid Business Association.
Just those?
Just those, as of right now. And so I attend all those meetings and help them fill in with what Bruce would need as the communicator.
And the parade.
And the parade. Did I even mention the parade after you mentioned it?
Did you say Development Commission?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'll be at that next meeting. I just started back a week ago. So it's, I've been to a few of these, but I haven't been to the Development Commission yet. But that will be one of my committees.
So Emily, define development
I'm
commission.
you're asking questions. Okay, go ahead.
Well, how many branches are there on
Hold on, she
development
listed
commission?
some of them, but she didn't list the head, which
Yeah.
was development.
See, this is a confusing aspect that you might as well be part of it. There's only 6 different ways you can go in development committee.
Well, Development Commission, but then she listed Appearance Committee and you listed another subcommittee. Oh, Arts Alliance.
Arts
I was
Alliance.
at
No
the
longer
Appearance
subcommittee.
Committee for the first time this past week. And that was pretty interesting. I learned a few things at that. So that's, I don't know where the head is and how they all branch out, but
Don't worry, I
I'll
don't
be
either.
there.
I think there's a committee to talk about the committees.
So if somebody wants to get updates from you, how would they?
Yes, so the Lake Placid Insider, which is located on our website, there's, that's also something that I find very important in the Lake Placid community that I don't think that a lot of businesses, organizations, and residents know about. So where you can put your events in, you can list your events, and then we send them out to all of our contacts, which is, I'm not sure how many at this point, but a lot. So they can go on the website, get on the Insider, and put their address there. They'll automatically receive bi-weekly emails from me, or they can contact me, Catherine, at Roost 80K, and I can have them.
Great, thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Welcome
I'm
back.
happy to be back. When the pandemic hit, it was really essential for me to go back to the restaurants and figure things out there. And after Chris kept telling me that this can't be past March, this can't be past June, this can't keep going. 2 years later, I'm very happy to be back and doing something else in addition to those.
Great.
That's pretty critical. Restaurants were hit pretty hard.
Yes,
during-
yes. And we came out shining in a lot of ways. Some did, some had more struggles than others. But I don't know if you've worked with Chris Erickson very much, but he had us all in there every day. We were digging out walls and refinishing bars, and we came out okay.
Are we good?
We're good, thank you.
So I just wanted to give you an update on the Ironman. So we have not signed a contract yet. That's in its third draft. There were a couple things that were hard stops for us. One was dissolving the Ironman task force. We were not agreeable to do that. We did say that we would be open to changing it after 2023 with the same players for the most part, and maybe, adding some others to creating an events council, which is part of the destination management plan. That was one of the pillars, is to create that events council. So it would not, in addition to Ironman, it would also look at lacrosse, horse show, and all other events in our region and the impact that it has on the community and the time of year, and is it a good fit, et cetera, et cetera. So we did come to an agreement there. So we should have another draft by the end of this week, and hopefully that will be in agreement with all of the things that we discussed, and as well as them holding them responsible for the recommendations that they agreed upon through the task force. So I do have some of those updates as where they are.
So you already said one thing that helped clarify me. I don't know if it did for you, but disbanding the task force was recorded as 2022. I just heard you say 23, which satisfies what we wanted.
Right.
So there was assessment through.
And there's no disbanding it, period. We don't agree
Yeah.
to disbanding it. That's not happening. But what we did agree to was changing it from the Ironman task force, so it wasn't such a, red, bright light on Ironman, but to the events task force or events council. I'm not sure.
So is there new language in the proposed contract?
The
Yes.
revised draft.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
because that was our only important thing, that there just was assessment, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I went back, or, who am I kidding, I can't find minutes, I asked Chelsea to find minutes for me. And she found the minutes from when we discussed the contract, because we just wanted to make sure that we had reiterated how important the task force was. And it's in here multiple times, I think all of us referencing it. And then I think I might ask 6 times, is the MOU part of the contract, or is the task force part of the contract? And I think in the end, it's clear as mud, but it's the MOU that's part of the contract, meaning like what the task force recommendations were. Like specifically this, like this
So
document.
your question is that's an
Is it-
MOU, that's not part of the actual 3-year contract, but that is part of the agreement. And in the contract, it references
References
that.
the MOU.
Right.
Okay,
Hence part of the contract.
yeah.
Yeah, right, that's part of the contract. So I do have an update.
Yeah.
And they have been working hard, and the message has been delivered clearly. I do know from conversations with people that have affiliations with the training clubs, that the training clubs, it is a conversation within the training clubs that these recommendations are out there, and that if things don't change, that this race is jeopardized beyond 2024. So a couple things, there's the code of conduct has been distributed to all the athletes, as well as the clubs. I did, I wasn't going to make copies because I feel like it's not green, but then I felt like if I didn't make it, you'd want it, so I made them.
You can recycle.
Yeah, and you can also use it for scrap paper to make a shopping list.
Do you see that?
Emily lets the kids color on them anyway.
Yeah.
Put the email to
One of them
principal.
It should be front and back.
This counts money.
Yeah, front and back.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's my copy. Okay,
Recycle it?
anyhow, so
Sorry.
this is the code of conduct. This is was mailed out. It's on their website, emailed out. It's on their website, and they'll also be using it on social media throughout the region. And this is a top priority. This is going to, the athletes and their families are going to see this over and over and over and over again in multiple locations. They also sent out this Ironman email, and this is the verbiage that goes along with this. And again, this verbiage will be seen in multiple locations at multiple times. In addition, they made a map. This did not, he sent me this as a PDF, but when I printed it, it didn't come out in as well as I wanted it to. But one side is the biking course, the code of conduct, and then there's some, information on different communities in the region, and then all the communities on the course are highlighted back here with some information about the
That's a good
Adirondacks.
idea.
So again, the hope, is to continue to promote all the communities along the race course. And then there's the run and the swim. We do have access to this file, and what we're talking about internally is even creating alternative bike courses. So we all know that when they're training, they want to be on the race course, but we'd like to try and disperse some people off some of those arteries such as, 73 and 86, which can get a little hairy sometimes. So there's that.
Where did that originate?
They made it.
Ironman.
Iron Man.
Okay.
Yes.
It does seem to be a video.
Okay, I'm coming. I am not there. I have my list right
I have it right here.
Okay, well, making me sweat. So the regional highlight video has been completed. They're just putting the final touches on it. So it's one video that highlights all of the region. And then there's individual videos that highlights Lake Placid, town of Wilmington, town of Jay, town of Keene. They had talking heads. So we, Roost, reached out to different businesses, business representative and community members, and asked them if they were interested in speaking to, being on the video. And so that's been completed, and that again is going to be dispersed on their websites, on all their social media channels. And so that should be out by next week. They're going to start using that. Let's see. Their community relations coordinator has been onboarded and will begin to use outreach and increase event awareness and response to incoming inquiries from residents. The hotline will be used on Race Week. So they will have the ability to communicate with this person, but there will be an actual hotline for the week of the race. And I have to get some clarification on, so what happens before the race week, and is it an email, and what's the response? So that I have some questions on myself. And then last but not least is we talked in depth about changing the date of Ironman. As you know, it's right smack in the height of the season. Right now they're looking for 2023. Their preferred date is Sunday, July 23rd. And then they also are recommending as a second date, July 9th. So I think that's a conversation that we'll have to have along with the village and town and Jim and Aubrey.
Don't you agree those are both in the height of the season?
Well, the one thing about the weekend after the 4th of July is it's traditionally one of the quieter weekends
I
in the
guess the
summer.
village is on vacation.
Only thing I'd like to add is that at one point I had given the suggestion that when it comes time to sign the contract, it might be a great look of unity if the town, the village, and Roost signed the contract.
Mhm.
I think it certainly would send a message to Ironman that we are all together in a direction.
Absolutely.
And maybe it's just an impression, but I think it could be an important one.
That's a great idea.
I agree.
In addition to that, I think really formalizing this events committee and having the roster built up and then having them identified and with the objectives. You had similar people, so they know that their role is this and they're aware of it, the community's aware of it. Because as of right now, that task force is gone, but then this role it just started only a couple months ago.
Yeah.
So I don't even think the roster has been completed.
No, and certainly.
So that's why I think that would be
That would
critical
help
to.
solidify, that's
Yes.
for sure.
Yeah.
And I'll go a little bit farther, Jason, on that. I see that as maybe an extension or an arm of this sports council that wants to reorganize. And an events committee and a sports council or whatever, we're talking about garnering more volunteers, if we will, to be involved in these events and the whole bit. So yes, it will take some effort to organize this, but I believe all the players are like right behind the door, just waiting to be asked to serve on something like this.
So just to be clarified, so the task force is still going to be in effect for this one. And they're going to evaluate it. So then come 2023, that would give about a year's lead time based on the data that's been collected and decision making. And then they would be prepped and ready for creating the new goals, whether is the Ironman task force, the current one, going to exist post-race to evaluate whether they've met the metrics or not? And then hand
They're
it off.
going in the right direction,
Yes.
right? And so it's not clear at this point how that will transition into the events council, because my understanding is there is, we had that conversation about Brian Magnus and
Right.
some other people creating or bringing back, I think you're calling it the sports council? or-
Listen, it's got 6
Whatever
different names.
council it is.
but-
Okay,
Lake
so
Placid
pick one.
Sports Council is
Right.
the
So
official.
the Lake Placid Sports Council, right? So perhaps this subcommittee is part of the Lake Placid Sports Council that follows through on this. And I don't know how long this task force will stick with it. I think some of the members will continue to be involved, and
Sure.
some will fall away, as is traditional. But through this race, we have a commitment to that committee to follow through, and they have they've made a commitment to follow through, to evaluate how Ironman has done through the race and the direction that they're going for next year. And then we'll have to figure out how that transitions into the Lake Placid Sports Council, if it's a subcommittee or some people from the Ironman committee sit on the,
I fully suspect Jeff Aaronstone, Brian Magnus, probably Galvin, Mark, will come to us as soon as July, but most likely August, with a plan to get their group jump-started, if you will.
Okay,
That will be the catalyst to start conversations with Roost, maybe with the task force as well. But I'll keep it moving forward.
okay, because I'm looking at it and say, it's split 50-50. I'm looking at for the 50 that are opposed.
I get it.
It would be, okay, so you're gonna follow through, evaluate it, see if they're on, and then who's doing what, and then,
We
that
don't
sort
want a
of,
gap.
yeah, and I think that's what alleviate. And
And
there's gonna be
also-
people who are always gonna be upset, but that would go a long
and
way.
I think that it's really important that we, communicate that things are happening already. They are working towards those goals, and also to communicate, there was never the understanding that there would be a complete check mark at the end of 22, right? It's gonna be a process, and it's
Exactly.
gonna take focus and continuous focus post-race, right through the winter going into 23, so.
That's why I like your design of perhaps that Ironman committee becomes a spin-off committee of the, for lack of a better term, Lake Placid Sports Council, but
And I think it would go a long way that it comes out from Roost, and then it comes out, and then it's under the town board or the town village combined. I think that would have some sort of distance in it, and
Well,
that,
Roost has been invited to have a seat at that event, the Lake Placid Sports Council, which we think is important.
Oh, for sure.
So, we don't want to lead it, we agree that it would be good to have it.
I was just saying, there's like one more low hanging fruit, I think, on here that really would benefit Ironman it says review the Ironman Foundation's annual impact on the community and words towards showcasing this give back more. You didn't mention anything about that.
So I didn't, but I know that, they have come to agreement with the state police as far as payment, so I know that's not community, but they're also working to, better support the first responders, the emergency, so that's.
Is that where their grants usually go?
They go to a variety of different places, but the EMTs, the ambulance service, volunteer ambulance service, volunteer fire department, they're the ones that feel, from the conversations that we have, that, they really shouldn't be costing us money to volunteer to support this event. So that I know that they're working on. As far as what they do with the rest of the money, I honestly can't speak to that. I don't know if you can, Jim, if you'd like to, and then also highlighting where that money, what they're.
Yeah, I think it's just one good thing that they do that they never really talk about.
And it's interesting because Dave Christensen said, that foundation is separate from the Ironman triathlon. So there's a little bit, it's hard, it was hard for him to get information from the foundation.
used to be an application process for,
That's right.
with specific goals. I know we received it at the hospital twice. But once it moved from Ironman to the foundation, it seemed to lose a lot of traction. The ceremony was held in Mitz Park, and I think it was not well attended.
I think it was, did you say, Jim, 2018 or 16 is when they kind of.
They sort of changed a little bit, yeah, but I think Emily's right, it's a good thing they do it, nobody knows about it. Right.
Yeah, you think they would be promoting it.
Yeah.
But if there's a separation, I understand maybe the foundation doesn't care as much about promoting Ironman.
It's hard to get information about, they have strict deadlines to their application process and things like that, so it's hard to find out those deadlines.
So we have a direction. Okay. Anything further?
I just want to mention, we're also doing, you might have mentioned last month, we're doing an analysis of Ironman horse shows and lacrosse this year, but more importantly, I'm not sure how much you looped in on the horse show and what's going on there. Have you heard much about the horse show? And really, looking forward, the grass ring is not something that is the horse people want anymore. So the horse show board is really struggling with how to really look at that, and that's it's a big lift for them. I'm just pointing that out, that's a challenge moving forward for the horse show.
I have just started working with Ken Porter and the highway department.
Great.
But it's really premature to jump into actual costs. I mean,
Right.
we have an idea what it's gonna be, but certainly moving, they wanna bring that down 3 feet.
Right. But they're talking about raising the money, but it's a big lift for them too.
So, but we wanna help them with
Without a
income.
doubt, that'd be great.
And it can give them relief of probably a couple $100,000.
Probably at least.
Yeah.
What is
That's
the
gonna be a big
surface?
lift.
Is it the same as the?
Yes, the
perimeter
all-weather
race?
surface is
Okay.
what really the top equestrian are really looking for.
That's all right.
Also, lastly, to completely change the subject, Greg Oates is going to be here at the end of the month on the 24th, and we would like to have the town, I know, and the village have agreed to meet so that we can present the North Alba Destination Management Plan, to kind of talk about how we're going to would like to move that forward.
I believe I forwarded that to all of you this afternoon on the 23rd. If I didn't,
23rd?
Yeah, 23rd.
I didn't see
Night of the 23rd, I think, yes.
I'll make a
Or
note.
5:30, something like that.
What's the date on the
4
23rd?
o'clock, thank you.
What is
Because
that?
we have our board retreat beforehand and then.
On the
we can-
23rd.
And then this.
Yeah, and then, 24th
I'll be out
is
down.
our staff.
I don't think you'll be back, will you?
I will be, but I'm too long.
That's important.
Yeah. Very good, but we'll notice it, Lori is gonna notice
Yeah,
it
we'll
as
do
a
a
meeting.
joint.
So people, if they have anything, will be virtual. We won't open it up here to public, probably except for Lauren. All good. Thank you, MJ.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
very
Jim.
much.
Hey,
Nice
thank
to
you.
see you.
Yep, good for you.
You jumping around again?
I'm feeling really good,
Good.
that PT down at our old hospital, pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
I hope they put you through your paces.
You just gotta keep doing your exercises, that's what you tell me.
My last day was Friday, so it's no longer.
What's the last name?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Your picture's still up there.
It'll be there
I
forever.
look at it twice a week.
Before we move forward, is caller one, is that Kathy by chance?
I may have muted, I don't know,
Yes.
somebody text her. Okay.
Because if it is, I just want Gillian to talk for a couple minutes about the youth program. And if that isn't Kathy, we can tackle it tomorrow, I don't know.
Oh, I don't have time.
What does Kathy, what does Kathy need?
This is like my only time I have.
Okay.
Because I work a lot.
But is this just overviewing her presentation from the last?
Well,
meeting?
it has to do with summer youth and the pay scale that they're on, which will ultimately end up with Kathy, but I think it should come in front of us so we understand what her concerns are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks, Kathy. Okay.
good.
Okay.
Come on up.
Sorry about my parents. I was playing softball and it started raining.
Well, listen, that's how it goes,
Yeah.
right?
I don't have any tools.
Sorry. Okay, so first Chelsea wanted me to tell everyone and give everyone a heads up that upcoming expenses will be RTE training and buying extra t-shirts for the kids that didn't have a chance to buy some online.
Right.
And then I'm here to talk about regarding wages for counselors. Ooh, I gotta get it out. So, as you all know, I'm trying to be, very professional and make the camp better than it is. So I'm rebranding and I would love consistency because we've never actually had any consistency for this camp, especially with wages. It's never been put down in writing or made like official, but since even Chelsea was a counselor, it used to be every year you'd get an incentive to come back to work, 25 cents to your paycheck. And it's been doing that, except for a lot of the time, it's incorrect, or like the year is wrong, that they started, or like, especially last year, so we had, I'm sorry, I wrote everything down in very
It's okay.
professional.
That's right.
So, I wanted the starting pay to be consistent with a babysitter, because that should be at least the minimum. We're watching children. It should be at least the same as a babysitter, which is $15.50. Last year, I guess the board voted, I was unaware that there was going to be like $1, everyone was receiving $1 extra, but I was very unaware of it. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, Kathy, but I think you said it was, everyone just received $1 instead of getting the 25 cents returner. So canceling out all years that previous counselors have been here. So I need to fix that, because if it's been a thing for at minimum 20 years.
So you're saying everyone, I have this file pulled up, so
Yeah.
everyone at 1650.
Well, those are the 1-year returners
Okay.
are 1650. I didn't expect that to happen. I was just hoping to have the consistent 25 cents extra every year you return.
But it's better than what you wanted.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. But I want to have like a written down exact, because like if this year we're giving returners $1, next year the returners after the first year, I hope are also getting $1. I don't expect returners after the first year to get $1 again for the following year, because we do have counselors that have been here for 5 years.
Yeah.
So I was hoping to continue with the 25 cents, because right now it doesn't make sense for 2 of the counselors. They have the returning from last year $1 raise, which is wonderful, and I am very happy with the amount, but it doesn't make sense with how many years they have worked. And
Are you saying essentially they're, after that 1-year return, they're, even
Just
if they do
25
both,
cents.
then it's, before that, it's just stagnant, you're getting the same amount?
I was hoping for,
No, as it currently exists now,
yeah,
they get that $1 bump, and then if they come back the second year, then it's just flat.
well, 25 cents for the, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, every year returning after that. It would have just been 25 cents every year, but because of last year's $1 for 1-year returners,
Okay.
it will need to be consistent, because I don't feel right having the new counselors now coming back next year and being like, oh, I'm only getting 25 cents.
Sure.
Everybody's like $2.
Well, aren't they starting at a higher level to begin with?
I don't know.
So last year, I believe at the end of the summer, everyone was given a raise to about $14 because of
Right,
inconsistencies
we
with
tried to bring it up
the
to par
director.
there.
And it is now up to par for a babysitter, which is $15.50 for a single child. For like a babysitter with 2 children, it's $20 an hour, and I don't expect that to happen. But I was hoping to keep the starting rate, because it won't change for at least 5 years, and that's a problem for another day. To stay at $15.50 for like the next couple of years for starting pay, and then $1 the first year you return, and then 25 cents every year after that. That's what I'm
That seems
hoping.
reasonable.
Hmm?
Seems reasonable.
Yeah,
So but all the pays that are on here now are correct.
no.
So who is wrong?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say it in a
Well,
public forum.
just describe the position.
Do a position.
So, I also want to add a head counselor pay, position, but the head counselor is incorrect. And, somebody with 1675 is incorrect. So there's only 2 people, and I am unaware about mine, but,
Oh, you're not on this list.
yeah.
Your choice, you're.
Helping other people. I don't even care about.
I know the
my own.
feeling.
I don't even care about my own at this point because that's a, yeah.
So is it maybe that the dates hired are wrong?
It just is not, because there has not been a.
Oh, Kathy might have an answer for
Yeah.
us. She's muted. So I'm sorry, Kathy, I allowed you to unmute, so now you are just allowed to unmute.
As long as it's.
Hello. Sorry if I'm talking too fast.
No, you're fine. You're making perfect sense.
Thank you. Because my goal is just to be consistent for future years and I
Well,
want to.
we
keep
prefer
this.
consistency
Yeah, I
too.
love consistency.
Being organized.
Yeah.
And then,
Then I don't have to worry about that.
so then they come back next year, you know exactly who's what, you don't have to spend weeks trying to organize.
Yeah, because last year I wasn't even in charge and people would come asking me why theirs wasn't the same as somebody who was working the same year.
Okay.
So I just want to be fair.
Do we want to do things over the phone again?
Yeah.
Are you fully staffed?
Yes, so last year we were not, and we had a cap this year. I'm hoping our cap for counselors will always be 15. We're at 14 currently, but including myself, which I'll be there every day, will be 15. I'm hoping for years to come, it'll always be 15, because then we'll never have to have a cap for this town, and people will always have childcare. Very important.
Yes.
And I want to remain free for years to come. because
All right,
that's
Miss
also
Kathy,
important.
guys. Sorry, Kathy, you're on speaker.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So I agree with everything Gillian said about having a written pay scale for the returning summer, whether it's youth or lifeguard or Craigwood or anybody. I think that's a great idea. What we need to figure out though is for those 2 positions that she says are incorrect based on their longevity, how much is she asking for?
So,
A quarter an hour, right, or a quarter a year, right?
a quarter every year, that's what it's been since like 20 years.
No, I mean, for right now, for this year, the rate that's listed at 17 and the one that's listed at 1675, how much do you think they should be getting?
From what I have written down and the math I've done, the one at 17 should be at 19 after when RTE training is done. So right now it's 1850. And then for the one at 17 will be 18 after RTE is done. So
that meant
Okay, so
4
They've been
the one
years.
that's listed at 1675 would be how much, 1750?
yes, and then,
Okay, so here's my comment to that, just an FYI to the board and to Gillian, something that we'll have to consider. Those 2 positions, if we do as Gillian's asking, and I apologize if I'm not saying your name right, I've always said it. Then we're gonna have to look at a couple lifeguard positions because they wouldn't be getting paid as much as those 2 positions. And they have CPR training and all that, so it's just something to keep in mind.
yeah,
And that's fair. We are in a fortunate market
yes.
where we're not struggling to find employees to provide the services this town needs.
Right.
I'm reading over the list, and these are all kids I either taught in 5th grade, or these are all local
I have
kids.
one of your kids.
Can I interrupt? I'm sorry, can I just say one more comment then? Can I work with Gillian and Chelsea tomorrow on revising these pay rates and send you all an email for consideration and approval?
I won't be here because I will be watching the 2 board members' children all day.
Oh, I'm going to St. Thomas. So you
Oh,
won't be
yeah,
there.
wait till you get
Oh, no, you won't be
So
watching
you're not
mine.
one of them.
But,
Will you
yeah.
have access email or phone number
Yes,
if we need to contact you?
Yes, and I can give Chelsea all the information. She already knows
Okay.
most of it.
But just a quick question, is it an error in their hire date?
Yes.
No,
Or is it an error in policy, like just,
let me just state that it's not an error in their hire date. The problem is, as Gillian said, there's never been a policy put down on
consistent.
paper to be followed from year to year to year.
okay,
So every year, the rate might have been 25 cents one year, it might have been 50 cents another year. Other years, it might have been more or less, depending on what the board decided to approve in the budget.
okay.
One point I'd like to make, and it's reference to lifeguards, because I think there's a spin-off to lifeguards, is that be very cautious in the lifeguard war that's going on. And I don't know if you know that's present or not, but there's 4 or 5 entities that need lifeguards. And right now they're jockeying back and forth. The salaries are creeping up. And it might be a good idea to get together with those entities and come up with
That's a good point, Rick.
so that we're not fighting against one another.
Sounds very monopolistic. Yeah, because Wilmington was offering much less than what we are, they're still needing a couple.
Right.
So they're installing.
So they go to 22 an hour, now Butch has to go to 23. And we continue to be at 12.
So I think we made good headway
Yes.
and very good follow through.
Can I just state for like, I don't know, is it the record for like definite numbers I put down for, like to write down on?
I thought you just gave them to Kathy.
Well, I mean, I can again. I just wanted to do it for like the,
We could maybe enter them into the minutes, and then when Kathy, we see it, and then Kathy submits we can make sure they reconcile, and it should be fine.
I don't know if I mentioned creating a separate, for our head counselor position. It's never been an official position within the town, even though it is through the state. We have to put it in for the records. I just wanted to have like an extra 50 cents for the head counselors because they are in charge of all the counselors. But
Yeah, and that differentiates that person from a counselor.
yeah.
So, never mind.
That's fair. I'll find that
Sort of
all
like
for
the
Chelsea.
stipend that we give the deputy highway superintendent.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we should be Kathy, are you gonna formalize that? Are we gonna draft something in with language?
She'll get together with Chelsea tomorrow and probably through email.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll work on it tomorrow, get it hopefully ironed out to the point where we can send you all an email and say, this is what we wanted. I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't realize when Gilly came to talk to me what she was trying to get to. I was missing the point. So, but we'll get this straightened out and I'll send an email to everybody tomorrow. And if you're all good with it, then we can just say you approve the personnel actions pending revision of
Exactly.
positions.
okay.
That sounds great.
Do we need a formal motion for that?
No, we'll wait until Kathy sends it to us and we'll do it.
And Kathy, why don't you try to rejoin on GoToMeeting, and I won't mute you this, well, I had muted you because there was some feedback, and then I said you could unmute, but you didn't,
No,
but you
we
couldn't,
said
so.
With the,
Yes. That way you're not targeting them. We know.
I just want to be the average,
Okay.
not less than the
Yeah.
average for New York State.
Make that a note. You're the first one to research that. We didn't know. Good job.
Thank you very much. Very much.
I like my job, so.
I
So
know
you
we
go
know
there.
you do. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you.
Now, listen, every time you want to come, we're not going to bump the agenda for you.
I was at the bottom.
Very good. Next item on the agenda is town hall chimney. We've talked about it a couple times.
Did we approve the minutes? Should we go through?
Oh, maybe I ought to start at the beginning?
So moved.
Yeah. All right. Do I have a second?
Yes.
I was like,
I'm sorry, just because I'm gonna forget, Jason, speaking of minutes, if you read the Ironman minutes, it actually says that it was a unanimous vote, and so you might wanna correct that.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
And the February minutes, that discussing Ironman,
Who did that?
Well, who didn't read the minutes, Jason?
I found everything you were
I
referring to.
skimmed over 'em.
Those were in the March minutes.
March minutes.
Yeah.
It says
You
it
don't
was,
even know what minutes are there.
it says it was a unanimous.
I skim over them, like,
Yeah, I know.
We got you.
because there's just one of those, like, there are other board members who come in and go, it should have been a capital T at the beginning of this sentence, and I'm just like, all right, we don't really have to do that.
But I'll approve for a second.
Yeah, but, yeah.
All right, so I have a motion and a second on May town board meeting. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. All right. I didn't do anything about persons present to be heard, but you usually wait till the end?
Yeah.
Okay. Under new business, I shouldn't make it too quick as it's an important item. I've sent you all information on the town hall. Mike Orticelli and myself have contacted, I believe, 7 different masons with vast ranges of cost, if you will. Long story short, the chimney will not be coming down. It is actually much more efficient and keeps the architecture of the building in line if we repair the damage. There are places underneath the 2nd and 3rd floor windows where water's getting behind the bricks, causing damage as well. In any respect, you'll know by what I sent you in the email that this is a couple-year project. This company from Utica will come in once we okay this cost. The total cost, by the way, is just over $36,000. But the safety part of this project is to actually net that chimney and secure it so loose bricks can't fall out into that one-way alleyway. Police, visitors, the whole bit.
Sure.
That would be done virtually right away, and next spring, the 2nd phase would come in. You can refer back to what I sent you. It goes from basically shy of $3,000 to net it to $25,000 to remove all the bad brick. And then there is repairs of $6,000, $6,500, $2,000 over the course of the following year. I can check references if you like. This company is working in the area now. Very professional, gave us a whole picture document with better explanation than we got from any of the other folks we talked to. And the price, believe it or not, is much more reasonable than 3 of the estimates we received. So I'd like permission from this board to move forward. And we can talk to Kathy. She'll let us know how we will pay for this, of course. I'm assuming it'll probably be a fund balance type thing because it's certainly not a bonding type thing at $36,000. But it's imperative that we repair this building.
Derek, what are the terms? Is it, I know it's sectioned out into, scope 1, scope 2, but is it like 50% upfront and 50% upon completion, or? And if you don't know that, that's fine.
I don't know it right now.
Okay.
Only because this is the first phase of moving forward. But I'll tell you what, I will make a note. And I'll get the terms and get it all out to you.
Yeah. I mean, the scope 1 is not, we're talking about $2,800, but. Great, thank you.
I, believe it or not, finding masons to do that type of work is, I was hoping 2 months ago I could have come to you with this information.
Surprised you got the response you did.
Yeah. So in any respect, I'll entertain a motion to move forward.
So moved.
Rick, second?
Sorry.
Jason, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anything opposed? I'm certainly not. Carried.
Whenever you bring up Masons, I'm like, well, we meet Wednesday night. So.
Yeah.
Was that?
Next item on the agenda is really just more paperwork than anything. One of the gentlemen that has one of our hangars sold his plane to an individual that has a plane there already. You can't sublease hangars, but you can occupy more than one hangar. So the person buying the plane would like to assume the lease, which is okay. I've okayed the plane to stay in until the current lease is up, which is the end of this year. At which time Mr. Duncan Winter will take ownership, if you will, of hangar number 17. Kathy takes care of all the leases, so it's really just a formality at this point, so I'm really just notifying you. I've sent to you the new Director of Golf contract, minor changes. It's in keeping with all the previous agreements we made. And actually, the only major thing that was written into this was the 50% of the driving range that he gets. Of course, the salary by our negotiations this year went up from the 39 to 41. Other than that, the contract is the same. I should probably, by resolution, accept that Director of Golf contract, so I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Emily, second. Rick, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. Update on Raybrook Water Tank Project. We were certainly very successful in an attempt to take the heavy machinery around the back of the existing tank. I don't know if you remember in previous reports, I told you that there was a plan in the document to possibly need a temporary bladder tank, a 20,000 gallon inflatable deal, because we anticipated having to tear down the existing 150,000 gallon water tank in order to get to the oldest tank buried behind it. We were fortunate in being able to give an access road behind the existing tank, dig out the original tank, which I think was, I'd have to guess, a 50 or 60,000 gallon tank. It's 10 foot in diameter and 36 feet long. They dragged it down the hill, and I imagine they're cutting it up with torches now. But that ultimately saved us a lot of time. Saved us time, but not necessarily money. The cost of the bladder tank that we most likely will not need now was $40,000. Ironically, in the last 10 days, we learned that the position of the new tank sits on top of ledge that comes to like a peak. It has to be blasted. While it's being blasted to take off the top, there's a certain elevation the new tank has to be at to guarantee water pressures that we need in all of Raybrook. When we bring that site down 4 feet where the new tank will sit, we also have to be pretty precise with blasting to create a line through the granite for the water line that will supply it. That costs $40,000. So it's not costing us, but the money is there with no amendments to the contract. So we're lucky there. I have a meeting with Ken Hunt tomorrow to have our easements signed and filed with the Department of Health. That's a mandatory type thing. But again, just clerical stuff. The project so far is on target, on date, and we hope the new tank will be here by September. So all the site prep is going on now. That's about all I have to, I should probably give you a quick rundown of our test wells. Oddly enough, the 2 test wells, the initial water samples came back with an absolutely ridiculously high level of manganese, which is like impossible. We think there's a screw up in the lab, so the test wells had to be pumped out for 4 hours, new samples taken, because those levels, no trace levels of that were evident in any of the other wells near there. So we're working out those problems and should have a report on productivity of those wells in relation to what the prisons need for water, and hopefully we can move forward within the month. That's all I have for Raybrook Water. I don't know if you have any questions about that, but, okay.
No.
The next item I'd like to bring up is kind of exciting because it adds to our lacrosse field and our overall athletic district, and it concerns moving forward with pickleball courts and beach volleyball. I've had meetings with folks on both sides of the issue, and tonight I'm proposing to the board that we seriously consider, instead of 3 pickleball courts, as you know, the grubbed out area has 4 potential court sites. And I recently met with Sarah Galvin and Donna Moody, recently retired from the school district. And, they're involved with kids groups, not only adult groups. And they did convince me that it looks like there's demand for 2 beach volley courts. They travel religiously to Tupper Lake in the summer. They use other sites. And I'm inclined to say, based on the cost to put in these beach volleyball courts, that we consider 2 and 2. The money it would cost to put in the cement pour for the 2 pickleball courts is $12,000. The cost of fencing would come down by about $12,000, so we could apply to Leaf to do the fencing part of that. And the cost to put in 2 beach volleyball courts is around $7,000 to $7,500. The town would accept the cost of putting the sand in, and the volunteers from beach volleyball have raised $5,600 to $6,000. They would put in the nets, the rakes, the volleyballs. They would set up the actual equipment, if you would. So I'm excited to say it will be a good partnership, if you will, and it will give our park district the ability to, let's say, run a couple different style tournaments up there and get even more use out of that area. I think it will be a safe area for kids for beach volleyball and or pickleball. Ride your bikes up there, it's out of traffic. I think the site lends itself well to serving the community. So if you're in agreement or need more time to think about it, I would at least like to entertain the motion. I sent you the estimates on the sand and the whole bit.
Mm-hmm.
We would need the town to help us with in-kind to keep that cost down on the beach volleyball courts by doing the hauling. But Ken is agreeable to that, like he helps us with everything.
Where's it coming from?
We'd probably get it from Trudeau.
Okay, so it's not like Rhode Island?
Oh
like
my God, no,
original?
this is using all Adirondack sand. And
Which is the smoothest sand you'll find.
yeah,
More grain or less grain?
it will actually
You're
be
picking it out of your own.
2 feet of material though. The first bottom, the bottom foot will be compacted, a much more granular, and then a masonry type sand on the top. No border like I proposed for the Fishu games, only because we have it grubbed out more than a foot deep now. So it all fits.
Yeah, I saw it does not include delivery.
Right. A delivery would more than double the price.
Sure.
You're proposing that the town pay for it, or that we support a leaf application?
Well, for the sand, I would support, I would go either way. It's just that if we accepted the cost now, it could be used this summer.
Where would this money come from? Is that what you're gonna ask?
No.
Yes.
Yeah, well, my assumption would be from the general fund, I would think.
Yeah, it would,
So I don't know if there's.
we would have to cover that with Kathy. It would either be fund balance or we'd have to get creative. And I'm not opposed to a LEAF grant, but the next opportunity is September.
Yeah, but there's another, I had another idea about a lead grant that I was gonna talk to you about, and then I talked to Kathy about, so.
And really,
I'd rather
depending
do
on
this than
funding,
have that.
it's really more just a motion tonight to move forward with it.
Yeah, I think if you think there's demand, I think I have no problem balancing out, 2 pickleball courts and 2 beach volleyball courts. I think it's better if he pays for it.
However, with pickleball, I've outlined that I feel the town should share. LEAF receives applications better if there's a sharing of costs.
Yeah.
So as far as the cement pour,
So that
I'd
would be,
prefer to have the town pay for the pours. But I need to get on a mason's list so that it can be done this fall.
so it would be the town paying for some of the, and asking for leave for some, as for both.
Exactly.
So what part would be leave for pickleball?
I would say half of the sand.
Pickleball.
Pickleball.
Oh,
fencing.
pickleball, fencing.
And then for beach volleyball, it would be half of the same.
Half of the sand, where we would probably pay for it all up front, but ask for some help.
Does leave allow for reimbursement type application?
And if they don't, we just put in one court.
Yeah, maybe that's the answer.
Yeah, I'm game for either. It's just that I'm for moving ahead.
As long as there's no additional cost. I know if we're pouring cement,
Or
you might just as well pour 2. Oh, if we're hauling our own sand,
Oh,
then that's.
Okay, with pickleball, I'm suggesting the town pay for all the
Right,
concrete
right.
and the leaf grant take care of the fencing,
Okay,
because it's considerably more.
and the concrete was 12,000 per court?
It was 6,000 per court,
Okay,
18,000 for 3 courts.
so it's gonna be 12,000, and then the fencing was probably more, I don't know.
But
Fencing is so expensive.
it was 38,000, but we'll take a third of that off, so we're at 24 or
For
25,000.
fencing, Yeah.
Yeah,
So there's a pretty convincing discussion as far as a big population base.
for beach
For beach
volleyball.
volleyball, I'm sorry. Yes.
Actually, I was more inclined by Donna's willingness to bring this effort for the youth. So there's use during the summer and promoting it, as well as tournaments, because Tupper Lake is pretty involved.
Okay.
And
You're
having,
the only game in town in the Tri-Lakes, correct?
Yeah.
So volleyball
and
courts.
2 courts allows them to have a tournament.
Sure.
I'm on board.
And we can further discuss funding, but I'll need to get together with Kathy anyway to understand that and see where we're at.
Do we have enough support that we're gonna move forward?
Oh, I can move forward as far as the town accepting the cost of 1 court. We go get the sand and open that up for them. And then we can discuss further after I know from talking to Kathy, just like what's available.
And if that's done soon enough, we can gauge the success of it. And then
Exactly.
I agree with Emily. I think the retro would be a tough sell.
Yeah,
But
I'm sure you're
Well,
right,
not reimbursed.
Nothing. Putting
Right.
words in your mouth.
Okay.
because once it's spent, it's spent.
Right.
Yep. But if you're okay with moving ahead with 1 court, I'd say let's do it.
So you wouldn't have the second court until whether the lead grant would be applied for and awarded.
Right.
So that would be next spring.
Spring.
No, oh, well, sorry, ready by next spring, but there's a fall round.
Yeah, apply in the fall, then process, but you wouldn't.
Yeah, and it could be 1 application, we should name it, for like projects having names. And then it can be for the fencing and for half the sand, or 1 court of sand.
That's right. And include both of those, fencing and sand, so that it's 1 application.
Beach volleyball doesn't have fencing?
No,
Okay.
no. has lines that go in with little stakes.
Those darn balls don't roll very well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess the beach doesn't have fencing on it, really.
This one does.
That's true.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion to move forward.
So
Second. Rick, further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Carried. Thank you. I sent you all a letter from the green side of the Big Apple. It concerns what used to be a cornerstone of Summers and Saranac Lake, the return of the Willard Hamner Guide Boat and Canoe Race. I anticipate crowds will come back because of that resurgence. Many organizations are stepping up to help this effort, and they're appealing as well to North Elba to help out in the tune of $1,000. Kathy had no problem with this request, and as you know, for many years we struggled to find ways to help our section of North Elba on the Saranac Lake end, and I think this is a very menial but important way to help with that effort. So respectfully, I'm asking for your support to okay $1,000 for that effort.
It's fine with me.
My only concern would be setting a precedent with other organizations that, you supported them, so can you support us? And
Yeah.
this thing snowballs into.
And we go through that annually during our budget process. So we justify every year. Do I see this as a yearly thing? Possibly. I think the success of the event will determine that.
Yeah, I feel like this falls right under whatever, I don't remember what Kathy's code is, but it's like, we have a lot of organizations that like the PV Association that we give $2,000 to every year.
do we have a formalized agreement, much like the village does that, but it's like a community where like the seniors or the parents committee, there's like a formalized agreement that each year, because that was part of the comptroller.
That's basically what this letter represents, is a formal request.
Okay.
Whether Kathy needs any further documentation, I'll follow through with.
It would be nice if we were gonna do something annually, then if she budgets it, and then we have an agreement that they sign and we sign.
I know the way it works now, organizations only get money if they request it, and Kathy has notification of their request.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then they have to come and get it, and some of them don't come and get it.
Jason,
Very odd. Yes.
this is Kathy. To answer your question, we do make every organization that receives community support sign an agreement stating that they acknowledge they're receiving the support in conjunction with providing services to constituents of the town. And we also ask them to give us a report of their prior year's activities so that we have documentation that they're using the funding for what they say they're going to be using it for.
Oh, fantastic.
And that always gets included with the vouchers when the payments are submitted for approval.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Kathy, if you don't mind, I'm gonna let the next item, I'd like you to explain it, because I'm sure you'll do it better than me, but it is a resolution of stipend compensation and setting a public hearing for a local law.
I will give it a shot. So as you all are probably aware, when Chelsea was out on her maternity leave, Lori took over doing a lot of the duties that Chelsea performs for all her, things that Lori doesn't normally do. And Derek had made a calculation based on his observations that she spent essentially a month's worth of work on her weekends getting this stuff done. And therefore, we're requesting that she be given a one-time stipend in addition to her annual salary for 2022 to reward her or acknowledge or whatever you want to say for her extra duties and time that she spent away from her family and all that good stuff. Because she is an elected official, the law requires that the town board approve or adopt, I should say, a local law. And that local law is subject to permissive referendum. So this isn't a one-time and done thing. Like tonight, you guys would be passing the resolution introducing that local law. Then we have to publish, and Lori can speak up because she knows how this works. So we have to publish it. The public hearing we're hoping will be next board meeting on July 5th. And then there's time for the public to potentially request the permissive referendum and 45 days after that and all. I mean, it's
they can.
It's complicated.
Petition, just like the cannabis law, just the same thing.
Right, thank you. So anyways, tonight would be the starting point. We did the calculations. Derek, I didn't send it to the board. Did you make copies for everyone?
I didn't it's been a while. I did initially.
Okay.
But certainly I can follow through.
Well, I have the resolution here. Lori probably has it too.
I think the overall important part is that the calculations were based solely on weekend work outside of her full work week, if you will.
Right.
All day Saturdays, all day Sundays. It was actual hours.
Correct.
And it's not even counting the hours in the evening, just later.
Right.
Lori, I'm not sure, but I think the resolution actually has to be read and put in the minutes. Is that right? Because it says at the bottom of it, duly adopted this June 7th, 2022.
Oh, yeah, I have that too.
Here,
Oh, you have it?
let me help you out.
Oh, do you want me to read it?
It's really long.
I mean, I don't know that it needs to be read, but I'm not sure what the guidelines are.
Emily can flip it off.
All right.
It's like, it's 3 pages long.
No.
No, the resolution's
It's just this, Emily. All right, here we go.
not the local law. The local law is for next month.
I'm getting tired here.
First is the resolution, then.
This is a resolution scheduling a public hearing on a proposed local law. Whereas the town board wishes to consider adoption of a proposed local law, a temporary one-time lump sum increase in the town clerk's salary for 2022. And whereas adoption of this legislation is authorized by New York Municipal Home Rule Law 10 and Town Law 27. And whereas Municipal Home Rule Law 20 requires the town board to hold a public hearing prior to the adoption of any local law. Now therefore be it resolved that the North Elba Town Board shall meet and hold a public hearing at the town offices, 2693 Main Street, Lake Placid, Town of North Elba, New York, beginning at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, July 5th, 2022, to hear all interested persons and take any necessary action provided by law concerning proposed local law number 3 of 2022, a temporary increase of the salary of the town clerk for 2022. And be it further resolved that the town board further authorizes and directs the North Elba town clerk to publish and post a notice of public hearing concerning proposed local law number 3 of 2022, a temporary increase in the salary of the town clerk for 2022 in the manner provided by law, and to make a copy of the proposed local law available for public inspection in the town clerk's office following the adoption of this resolution and until the public hearing is closed. Duly adopted this June 7th, 2022. Take a motion to approve. Second.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Carried. Thank you. And what I'll do is I'll give you this copy
Okay,
of the local law so that if anybody comes, they can review it.
Okay, I think it has to be 30 days, Kathy. for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, soon.
Yep.
Derek, did we have to approve the $1,000?
That was the only.
Oh, I thought we did or we didn't?
We didn't.
vote on
Okay,
it. We all agreed whether that was informal.
thank you. I'll take a motion to approve the $1,000 for the guide boat race.
So,
Rick, second.
So,
Jason, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. Kath, I guess you're up again with budget amendments.
Okay, so besides the discussion you just had for the guide boat race, which, or guild boat race, I'm not sure.
Guide boat, Adirondack guide boat. Boy, you better get that right. or you'll be-
Okay, I'm sorry. That possibly will require a budget amendment depending on how many other of our community organizations actually contact me to get their money. So it's been approved. We'll get the process started in getting them their money, but that may not result in a budget amendment, just,
Okay,
But what I do have is for the Black Fly Control Department. They hired one new person more than what they were expecting, so they had more training that they had to do. So we're asking for a $140 increase in their dues and fees to cover the training. But in addition to that, the amount of money that we put in the budget this year for the pesticide was not enough to cover what they needed to order. However, when I asked John about it, he did say that he believes some of the pesticide that they ordered will carry over into next season. But all total, we're talking $790. It's not going to kill us. And I suggest that we just increase our budgeted revenues for our mortgage tax, because so far this year, our first payment for mortgage tax was actually $100,000 more than what we actually budgeted for the whole year. So we're already way ahead of the game on that.
Can you say that again? $100,000 more than?
Yeah,
anticipated.
our mortgage tax for our first payment, because we get two every year. So the first payment we received is $100,000 more than the amount we budgeted for the whole year. So that means our second payment, go ahead.
When does our second payment come?
Generally, we are notified of it in January in this case, 2023, but I can book it as a revenue in 2022
Because it's budgeted as a revenue in 2022, right?
Right. Basically,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Pretty good
So,
news. Thank
yeah,
you.
that's good for us. So yeah, that's it for budget amendments. Other than pending our discussion and the board's decision in regards to the pay rates for the youth commission and possibly a couple adjustments to our lifeguards. There will be at some point later this summer, probably in July or maybe August, a request for a budget amendment for that, because as you know, there are a lot more youth interested in attending our summer session, and because of that, they're hiring more counselors, many more than what we had last year. So when we built the budget for this year, we just didn't know. So you guys are going to have to look at increasing the budget for that. But
Again, we're very fortunate to have that many counselors. I think coming out of the pandemic, Kathy, you're going to see an exceptional enrollment in that youth program.
Right. But as I'm saying right now, I don't think that whatever decision you all make about the rates for the youth counselors going forward for this session, we don't have to worry about doing an actual adjustment to the budget until July, because we have enough money right now to cover payroll for at least the first month.
That's good.
So, and then there's also some LEAF money. I'm not sure that I understand the guidelines, but Gillian was saying that she believes the LEAF grant cannot be used to cover costs that were already budgeted. But I informed her that because of the excess number of counselors that we hired this year, that there is some money that was not budgeted that we're going to need. So we might be able to use some of the LEAF money to cover that cost of the additional counselors.
LEAF money can't be used for salaries.
It can or cannot?
Cannot.
You can use ARPA money, you can use COVID relief money for that.
Well, that's a topic for another day.
Okay, put it on your list, though.
All right. All right,
Yeah.
so, okay, so moving on, so the budget amendment is just what we need for the black fly right now.
Right. Very good. Do you want to go into any personnel actions, or? have we
I
covered
don't
it?
know if you want to just do motion to approve everything at one time, I'll just keep talking.
That's a good idea.
All right, so I gave you all what I had for personal actions, and generally May and June are the busiest months for us because of all the returning seasonals. The top half are all returning positions that I am aware of as of today. And, as we discussed, some of those hourly rates for the counselors may be adjusted pending our discussions tomorrow. The bottom half of that page are all the new hires. And if I understand correctly, there was no discussion from Gillian about changing the higher rate of pay for the new hires at $15.50. So those are all going to remain that. And then the new lifeguards are coming in at $16.50. There's two listed, but there's a third one that Chelsea gave me after I sent the email. His name is Isaac Morocco. So he'll be a new lifeguard starting at $16.50 as well. So I will add that to this list to make sure it gets put in the minutes. And then the last discussion we had was from Butch. He's bringing back Andrew Levinson, who helps out Zach with park maintenance. And he wants to hire a gentleman named Evan Whitney, who I believe right now is working as an intern from BOCES with the Highway Garage. And he's asking to bring Evan and Andrew both in at $16 an hour this year. We built the budget assuming that they'd be brought in at $15 an hour. So the question to you folks is, what do you want to do? Do you want to give them 16 or do you want to give them 15?
No, I want to give them 16 because I have a personnel meeting with Butch in the morning, and that's all I can say right now, but we need to hire these guys right away. We're deficient with not enough help at the horse show grounds this year. There's different issues going on, so finding the help, we found it, we have to get them. That's what it'll take so that they don't, I don't want to name another business, but.
No,
they're
that's
looking at-
fine. You don't have
In
to.
order to secure them, we need to pay them that.
So, all right, so then the final request then would be to also increase Hunter, who was hired this year, or he returned this year because he's worked for us in past years. At the toboggan slide, we paid him $15 an hour for the toboggan slide this winter, but
Yep.
Butch would like to increase his rate to $16 an hour for the summer to match Andrew and Evan, so they're all on the same line.
And Hunter is a laborer as well?
Yes, he
Yes.
is. And he may or may not work much this summer, according to Butch, but I don't know what the deal is with that. He just wants to make sure that if he does come back, he's at the same pay rate.
He can use them when he needs them, so.
Right,
Yes. Yes, keep it fair.
So that's all I have, other than, as we discussed earlier, straightening out a couple of those rates for counselors.
Okay.
Kathy, what are the benefits? Do these people get any benefits, or because being
None.
seasonal? Okay.
Absolutely no benefits. They are working solely out of the goodness of their hearts.
Yeah.
The smiles on.
It's a
people's
community
faces.
commitment, right? Okay, thank you.
Kathy, I'm guessing we can let you go because all there is left in your department is to approve the audits.
Yeah, and there's nothing, well, I'm gonna say there's nothing big in them except that the second payment to the village for the fire protection is in this month's batch. So it will look like a big check run.
Was that the 324,000?
It sounds about right, yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you for everything, and listen, I need a motion to accept the budget amendments and the personnel actions.
So moved.
Jason, second. Emily, further discussion? All in favor? Carried.
All right, have a
Thank
good
you.
night. Thank you.
Good night, Kathy.
Last thing is,
Is that approving the audits as well?
what's that?
Is that improving the audits as well?
No, we have to do that now.
Okay.
Motion to approve the audits.
So moved.
Rick, second?
Second.
All right. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carried. Thank you. Any separate committee reports from any of you?
I did have an update on the housing committee, kind of two updates on the housing committee. One was that you saw an email that should have come from Peter Rowland
I did.
as chair of the housing committee. He sent a letter on behalf of the committee to Derek and to Art asking to consider hiring an attorney to review the bail and deed documents that at some point I had sent to all of you guys. So there, that is on the table. There's a potential, and I don't know if you've talked to Art about it or not.
I haven't, but if you'd like a motion tonight to be able to use Mark, I take it.
I don't know, actually.
He's certainly well versed in planning and all that.
Yeah.
If there was a different avenue you think would be better, I'm okay with it, but it's such an important issue. How do you feel about the old Forge? Because I take it it's modeled after Colorado.
Yes, and so it was developed by an attorney who practices in New York who made sure that it abided by all of New York State laws. But the thing, my biggest question is that the old Forge model, it's a nonprofit, Cap 21 or Living 80K, the two names, that's actually taking the deed restriction. And in our case, I actually think that it should be the town that takes the deed restriction. I think the town should be very involved in it and not a nonprofit organization. And the only reason the nonprofit is doing it is because it's something that they like fully believe in and there's no one else, that the town isn't, there's no town around them that's pushing it forward. But I think a deed restriction has a lot more teeth when it's the town who has it and not a private individual who has it. So I would want the attorney to review it and then also make the revisions that are necessary to make it the town and or village.
As far as the village is concerned, we've received the email, but there has not been any board level discussion regarding it, so.
And I have no idea how much an attorney review of it would cost, so maybe the first step is asking how much, can you ask an attorney for an estimate?
Let me ask you this, are we
About
putting,
town attorney.
should I have you present that idea to the board in July or August before we move toward the attorney?
To present the more
The
details.
concept.
The concept? Yeah, I can do that.
Because there's parts of it I can't wrap my head around, and I've been involved in this more than these guys.
Yeah, and I think Peter had sent a link to a video presentation about bail and deed.
Yeah,
And if you do ever have time, it's a very good presentation and it actually does answer a lot of questions.
I think Peter only sent it to Art and myself. I don't think these guys have seen it.
That Art passed it on to.
Okay.
So I've seen the email, but I haven't had a chance to dive into it
Well,
yet.
then maybe that's the first thing I should do tomorrow is,
Because I saw it was from the housing committee.
Yeah.
But I didn't know, I guess we didn't dive into it, so I didn't ask, is this in conjunction with the presentation on SDRs, or are we moving in a sort of completely, like, are they independent?
Independent things.
Okay.
So you'll send that out, Derek?
I'll send it out tomorrow
Okay,
morning.
great.
Would you feel comfortable with at least describing it? Like,
Yes.
for me, I get a better concept of how it works if there are examples given.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking that maybe I'll invite Dan Kieferbach, who is in charge of the Old Forge program, to see if he could maybe sit in at least, and maybe not do a presentation, but sit in and answer questions, because he's, for the area, he's definitely like the go-to knowledgeable person
All right.
on this. And
So
then-
I'll wait till you get back. We'll get together and contact him.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then along the same lines, Peter is stepping down as the chair of the housing committee because he has another commitment that has come up. He wants to stay involved in the committee, but he will be stepping down as chair. And from who's left on the committee, I don't see an heir apparent of who will take over for Peter.
So are you doing it?
So I might, I think maybe this, the deed restrictions we should talk about how we're looking for some more board members, because maybe it's like new blood that's out there that I haven't thought of, that would be interested in serving as a chair.
So we'll use the avenue at our town meeting in the presentation to appeal.
But Peter did say that, we're right now, we're working on this really boring plan, and Peter will admit that it's boring, like, we're doing very boring things of like combining comprehensive plan and the Camoin report and some other things into this master plan document for housing, and he said that he would see that through. So I was very appreciative of the fact that he would see that through as chair, and then he will just step down as chair, but will stay on the committee.
Maybe the end result is a good product that
a staff member in Haley's office could do something, a new staff member.
Well, will that come out of the DMP report?
Yeah.
I mean, it could.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything committee report oriented from you guys? Okay.
Well, no, I don't. But I just wanted to talk about Emily, and I know she's putting on her sunglasses and ready to go. But we're talking about, does this little committee thing, does it need to be, is it informal? Do we need to kind of formalize it in a way that like they exist, the water filling stations and having other people come in? So I talked to Emily today about, we're not necessarily kind of like, it would be, the ban would be secondary, primarily it would be identifying, and I have to talk to Art and about the village, identifying locations in the village and town where we could install water bottle fillings as a first step, and then this committee over time could, start thinking about longer term at that, the viable sort of chances of like a ban, whether it's just primarily with town property.
Sure, like I can tell you, one site is the lacrosse fields, where a couple filling stations could be put in. They're seasonal, they get drained when we take down the irrigation. That's where everybody should be carrying a water bottle. That's an easy place.
Because that they would kind of, take some recommendations, but also have them. And Tiffany is compiling a menu of external water bottle filling stations and internal as a way to kind of present to the
Remind me who Tiffany is.
She was the lady that accompanied Ellen for her presentation.
Works at
the cottage.
The cottage,
Yes.
Okay.
And she's gonna have like an expensive medium range low for both, just so there's some options. Because at one point, Art asked Brad if he could look into it, but Brad having all of that, that's just not really feasible.
Right.
So I put it on them to say, hey, if this is something that you want, do some research, and then we could.
Doesn't the school have the information on what got put in over there?
She's contacting, the custodians, because there's certain brands and so on and so forth.
We just pumped it into.
That's a
Hospital?
Yeah, so that would be a way to kind of.
Our problem here, of course, is gonna be, do you hook it up to old lead pipes?
Of course.
And that's
a filter.
Yeah, the filters.
That's the expensive part.
That's the expensive part right there.
Because
$75 a piece.
And they kind of go through them. Because we have some really old pipes circling around this community.
So there's practical sites and impractical sites, right?
Yeah.
But I think all of us will follow through.
Yeah, and I think it would be a way to, like, it doesn't take up a lot of board time, just by the time it reaches here, there's some input being taken, much like any other, than a recommendation given. Seems right.
Yeah, I think that's an easy thing to accomplish. Okay, before we go to executive session, let's see. Lauren
She left.
Okay.
She was so enthusiastic, she just had to.
Well,
I saw her
back-to-back meetings.
Listen, just like watching paint dry. Yeah.
Doing this, like watching TV.
All right, so nothing else. I have two quick things we need to talk about in executive.
Okay, so who's,
I'll
And we
move
won't
to,
be taking action, so you don't have to hang around.
no, I won't, but,
I move to go into executive session.
Second?
Aye.
All in favor? Aye.
I was just like 2 days around my.
so